Hey guys, it is Carl Brown from GL365 Academy. Gonna finally finish one I started years ago in my little riff series that I used to do. So we did the main riff to this Runaround by Van Halen. So I'm just gonna do the whole thing in this. So I'm gonna cover that riff again. If you're just new to you didn't see that previous video, you're just coming straight here. I'm gonna cover the entire tune in this one though. So we're gonna do all the riffs and both solos. So got a lot cut out for us today, so we'll jump into it. But please, before we do, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring the notification bell so you'll know when I release a new video. And big one here, check out my Guitar Academy, please. You see the link in the description. I'm offering a 7-day free trial right now, and you can check it out risk-free. It's got all my guitar courses covering everything from technique to improvisation, ear training, a complete beginner course. We got a complete guitar tone course in there. So there's a lot of cool stuff. So please go and check it out. All right, so let's get started on this tune. We're gonna be in E flat tuning. So every string down a half step. A lot of times live, they just played it in standard. But we're gonna be doing it like the album here. So the album is tuned down, every string tuned down a half step. You'll see those notes in the description, but it's just E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, E flat. All right? So then we're going to have this main riff, which I covered before, but we're going to do it again. And it's a really fun riff to play, too. It sounds like this. So it moves around very, very quickly. So we're going to start here with a slight bend on the 3rd fret of the low E string. So it's kind of one of those quarter step bends. And then we're gonna go into a basis, just basically play an A power chord, but probably the easiest way to play it is the open A string, and play the 2nd fret on the E and the 2nd fret on the A with these fingers here. So like this. So you see I'm letting the notes ring after I play them. Then we kind of do the same thing again, but off of a D power chord. So that's going to be a slight bend once again on the 3rd fret, this time on the A string. And I'm doing that bend there with the my ring finger. And then we go into the open D, 2nd fret on the G, 3rd fret there on the B. And then continue holding that. And you make it a D sus2 chord now by hitting the open E string, back to the 2nd fret, 3rd fret on the B, and 2nd fret there on the G. So with this. Then go down here and grab the 3rd fret there on the low E string. So we have this so far. All right, from there we have this. So we start that with 0, 3, 0 on the A string. And when you get to that 3 again, once again, just a slight bend on it. So you pick, 0, 3, 0, play 2 on the D, 2 on the G. So, then you play 3 on the A and 3 on the low E. So we have this so far. Now from there, as you're holding this, you're gonna play, you hold this this G on the bottom here. And then you play the open G string, then play 3, 1, 0 on the B string. All right, from there you play the open D, and then 2, 4, 2 on the G. Now you could play that with with the open B, but he doesn't let those ring together, and it sounds like he's actually kind of articulating it better. So it sounds like he's actually playing that B instead of having the open B there. So we have this. Then it kind of starts over. So the second time we get to that little, we're holding that G where we used to, the first time that we did that, here we just go, which is just playing this G power chord here. Make sure you're muting that A string to a D. All right, so that's kind of the main riff of the song. That's also the chorus of the song, which it's not always played just twice through there, but it's later in the song, the chorus is just played longer. It's kind of looped longer. But then we have this, I just kind of call it a transition riff. It's a really cool riff. Sounds like this. All right, so this thing is going to be 14 on the D, 12 on the G, and 15 on the B. So we have this. And you can do a little vibrato bar action on it there. Let them ring. And then pick across those three notes again, but move the note on the B string back to the 14th fret. So. Now move back to the 12th fret on the D, 10th on the G string, 13 on the B. All right, now from there we're gonna have, which is gonna be, he's kind of messing around. Could be a little hammer on in there, just whatever. So that's the 10th fret on the D and the G, 12th on the B. And then move that down to the top note, down to the 10th fret on the B as well. To resolve it. Then you open A, and you go back through these arpeggios again. And then we have this little ending. So that's going to be kind of the same chords up here. Play that first chord. Resolve it down to the 10, just to the straight F major chord there. And then basically take the same shape, move it over to the 12th fret, a bar at the 12th fret across the G, B, and the high E, with a 14 there on the high E string. So you play that first, it's just like that, but it's here. And then resolve it down to the 12th fret across all three frets. So. All right, then that takes us to verse number 1. Now, each verse is slightly different, so I'm just going to cover each one individually. So we have the verse number 1 happens at the 30-second mark. It sounds like this. All right, so that's going to be open A power chord a couple times, then kind of a slide down, and you're going to play. So that's going to be the 2nd fret there on the low E, then the 5th fret there on the D, and then you're going to start bending up with some vibrato that note back on the 2nd fret of low E. Back to the A a couple times, and then it's kind of the same lick again after a little slide, which is going to be now this time 4th fret on the A, 7th fret on the D, back to that 4th fret on the A, into like a bend with some vibrato. So all together. So you go back to this, to that, to the same one we did at first, and then the fourth time through, you hit the power chords. So that's this, the 7th fret there, kind of muted on the D, and the double stops at the 5th fret on the G and the B. Back to that 7 on the D, and then back to the 2 5s, up to 7, the 2 7s on the G and the B. Kind of a bend and release there. Back down to the 5s, and back to the 7. All right, then it gets to that transition riff again, but it's just done once. All right, and then we've got verse number 2, which is similar to verse number 1, but it's just a little couple extra fills going on there. So let me play through that real quick for you. So that's got a little added thing at the beginning. You have the A. Then you play the 3rd fret there on the A string, slightly bend it up, then back to an A power chord. And really, if you just want to have that top A note ringing, it's really it's the loudest note of it. If you want to still like that, or either way, that A sticks out because it's the top note of the chord. And then we go to that same riff that was in the first riff, the first verse, and then we just go to the power chord without the bend at the 3rd fret there. So just, and that goes. Now from there, you can see you got some pinch harmonics. We're going to play the. So that's just pinch the same 4th fret there on the A, and then 7th on the D, and then the 4th fret on the A. But you're hitting those with some pinch harmonics. And then back to the 3rd time through, back to the bend on the 3rd fret there on the A. And then same riff. All right, from there, same ending there too. So it's just very similar, except for that little addition of that on the 1st and 3rd times through, and that little pinch harmonic riff that happens real quick. All right, so then let's take a look at the pre-chorus, which has a lot of pretty quick chord progression here. So it sounds like this. All right, so that's going to start with a C sharp minor chord. Obviously, it's a C minor chord in this tuning, but we're not going to pay attention to that. So we're just going to call everything out like it's in E. So we have this, the 4th fret here on the A string, and 6 on the D, 6 on the G, and 5th on the B string. Then we're going to move it up to, so you just pick across from the A across to the B string. Kind of muted too. Then move up to a D major chord. So you're going to play that like the 5th fret here on the A string, 7th fret across the D, G, and the B, but you're only going to pick the 5th, the A string, D string, and the B. And then it kind of sounds like it hits an E power chord really. Then you play the G string to the D. Then we have this little fill in there, which is going to play. It's one of my favorite. You know, Eddie Van Halen loves these like sus4 chord voicings. So we have this. So that's 10th fret there on the B, and then go back down to 9. So lift up that 10th fret there. Pick 9 on the B. Hammer back on 10. Pull off to 9. Then 9 on the G, 9 on the D. So we have this. Now from there, we're going to go up to, and it doesn't play the full chord. It doesn't play the full F sharp minor chord, it sounds like. It just does. So that's just kind of like the power chord version. So we have the 9th fret there on the A, to the 11th on the D, to the 11th on the G, back to the 11th on the D. And then kind of the same thing here at the 5th fret. Except you just pick from the A to the D and the G. So this same power chord though. And then we're back to this E chord. And you could just do the lick. I kind of like having it as part of the chord. So you can just kind of choose which way you want to do it. You can start it with just the chord. So it's a sus4 chord again. So we're up here playing the E major chord, but we're going to add a 10th fret there on the B. And the full lick is going to be kind of what we did before. 10, then 9, hammer, pull on the 10, then 9 on the G, 9 on the D, and then it continue. And that's going to be a hammer from 7 to 9 on the D, pull back off to 7, slide down to 6, over to 7 on the A. So that's if you want to play it with a chord first. Or you can just play the lick itself, but in that case it's probably easier just to do it up here with the index finger barring. So we have this. All right, now from there. So that sounds more like all power chords going up. So it's that C sharp, a power chord built off the 5th fret of the, the 4th fret of the A string. So it's going to pick across that, like from the A, D, G, D, and then up to the D power chord. Then just pick across, it's just 3 hits on this one. Same thing on the E there. And the F sharp. So the first one's the only one that has 4 hits. And this last chord is going to be, it starts with an A sus4 chord. So we're going to play open A, then 2nd fret there on the D string, 2nd fret on the G, and then play 3rd fret on the B. And we resolve that down to the 2nd fret there on the B. And then back down, 2nd fret on the G, and 2nd fret on the D. So it's kind of palm muted there too, it gives it that percussive quality. And resolve that to an E major chord. So all together for the pre-chorus. All right, so then we get back to the chorus again. Well, we get to the chorus really the first time in the song, but it's just that main riff. So nothing new there, it's just gonna. And then at the 1 minute and 35-second mark, we have verse number 3, which has a little bit different too. So let me play that for you real quick. All right, so that's pretty much the same as kind of a combination of the 2 verses before. So we have this, we don't do the little on the first 2. So it's just like, it's the A twice, that same riff, and then the A twice again. And here is that little, make sure you do the pinch harmonic fill here. Okay, so that happens the 2nd time through. And now finally the 3rd time through in this final verse, we're back to the, we do that little 3rd fret bend on the A string there too. And then everything's the same to end. All right, then we go through the same pre-chorus again that we just covered, and into the same chorus with the main riff. So that just basically takes us to Eddie's first solo. So I'm going to play through that for you real quick, and then I'll show you how to play it note for note. So here we go. All right, so that's got some really typical Eddie stuff in it that's kind of out of left field, but just sounds incredible. It's just cool. All right, so let's start with these kind of crazy bends that opens up the solo. So that's going to start with really just kind of a... So it's a bend at the 17th fret there. So it's a step and a half bend there. And then even a bigger bend, and you can kind of help it there with the vibrato bar with some a little bit of vibrato added to it. And then we go over to the G string, and we're going to put kind of a slow trill between 14 and 17 on the G. Kind of typical Eddie. He does that a lot, where he's just kind of hitting it with the kind of create a little chaos with those pictures. Why are you doing that? So we have this. All right, the next lick looks like this. All right, so that's going to be a bend at the 7th fret there on the G. And then 5th on the B, over to 5 on the high E, into a bend at the 8th fret there on the B. Now you put some vibrato on it, then you pick the bend, release, pull off to 5, and you do the same thing at the 7th fret there on the G. Kind of a bend and release, pull off to 5. So this. Then you're going to pick 7 on the G. So 7 on the G, over to 5 on the B, roll to 5 on the G, and 7 on the D. So we have this. So. And then we have 7-5 on the G and 7-5 on the D. And then we're going to end this with over to 5 on the G with some big vibrato on it. And it kind of slides up to 7 at the very end. Now there's obviously a wah pedal going on here too that I'm not using, so we can just kind of hear the notes more clearly. But you might want to add a wah pedal to it if you want to sound just like the record. So we have this. So one more time. All right, and now we got this kind of tricky little tapping lick that's hard to get to sound exactly like the recording. How he liked to record is he kind of would throw things in there and kind of take different takes and just kind of piece them together into like a solo. So he'll take little bits and pieces of different takes or improvisations that he did and create a solo out of, from just comping all those together. So this sounds like something that could have happened there because there's a lot of weird slides in the middle of nowhere. But anyway, what's going on, if you want to try to pick it up. So after this slide, we have this. So it's a weird thing to get right. So we're basically going to be playing 15, tapping 15 on the B, pulling off to 10. Sorry, and then hammering in 13 on the beat. And then, same thing, we're going to tap at 17. And then hammer and pull off to that 10 and hammer 13. And when you hammer 13 that second time, you start sliding the hand up. So we have this. But right here is where it sounds like that slide gets interrupted with another tap at the 20th fret. So you're kind of doing that slide and tap at the same time. So it kind of looks like this. All right, so that's kind of weird. And then we're going to change the notes in the left hand for the next series of taps. So after you've tapped this 20, you're going to tap 20, pull off to 13, and hammer on 17, and pull back off to 13. So that's going to be the notes in the left hand for the next few taps. So we're going to have 20, and then that same tapping pattern, 4-note pattern. You tap, pull off to the bottom note, hammer 17, pull back off to 13. And then now tap the 22nd fret and do the same lick. And then back down to 20. So we have this. So all together we have this. And then we have this one where he slides up the B string. So it slides kind of up the B, and then you flick it off until you're holding the, and you're behind it, you're holding the 20th fret there on the B string into a bend. So that's very awkward. So all together for that tapping part. And don't mute it out like an idiot. So anyway, so we have, all together we do it again. All right, so now after that little slide into, that pulled off into that bend at the 20th fret, we have this. All right, so that's gonna be, slide into this 17th fret there on the B string, over to 17 on the high E, back down to the 17 on the B. Into a big bend at the 20th fret there on the B string. And then you're going to play 20 on the high E string without a bend, and then into a smaller bend at the 20th fret. Regular whole step bend. So it is. So this is a bend and release. Pull off to 17, over to 19 there on the G. So we have this. And then we shift down here to the 5th fret. So that's 5, 7, 5 on the G string. Got a little pinch harmonics. And then play 7, 5 on the D to 7 on the A string. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna start the next. You're gonna pick this note again. So you're actually gonna pick this note twice. So you can go 7, 6, 5, 3 of the A. So all together. And there's a little pause, and then we get to this next section. So those are some oblique bends. Oblique means you're holding a note while you're bending another one. So that's holding the 8th fret there on the B, and then bending the 7th fret on the G up a whole step while you're doing it. Then move up 2 frets and do the same. So he's holding that top note on the B, but you're really hearing the melody note is he's hitting that note on the G string. You hear it a little bit louder. So we just release that, and then resolve it down to the 8th fret on the G. So we have this. All right, and then we're kind of back to something similar we did earlier. So that's kind of that little roll, that kind of slide up to the 17ths and roll across the strings like we did earlier. But instead of doing a bend of the 20th fret on the high E, he does it on the on the B, he does it on the high E now. And he works his way down to the B string, and he's doing that kind of trill thing again between 17 and 20 on the B with the whammy bar, and down to the 19th fret on the G. So with this. All right, so the next licks look like this. It's kind of a higher version of this. So that's going to be another oblique bend. You're going to pull the 15th fret there on the B and 15th fret on the high E. So you're going to hold the note on the high E and then bend up the note on the B string. And then same thing, 2 frets higher. And kind of pick it a little bit more there. Release that bend and resolve it to 16 on the B. So we have. And you end the solo by kind of just doing a trill between the open G and the 17th fret there on the G string. So just, and while you're doing that, you press the bar, and then bring the bar back up and do the same thing, but here from the 9th fret on the G. So. And that takes us to the bridge. So let me play through the bridge for you real quick, and then I'll take a look at it for you note for note. All right, so we're basically taking, you just hit a low E there, and we're taking this riff, we're just moving it down to E instead of playing it over A. So we're gonna move this down from the 12th fret, move it down to the 7. So that's 9 on the D, 7 on the G, 10 on the B. So the same riff after that. And so the same as this. So just down here to 7. And the same thing here, just got the 5th fret on the D and the G with the 7th fret on the B a couple times. And then just the bar, the 5th fret. That's what we did here. But it's here. Back to low E, back to those arpeggios. And then you're just gonna play this. That's gonna be that same chord up here, the one with the 7th fret on the B. Resolve it down, and then that same shape we moved it up here as well. Move it over to the top 3 strings at the 7th fret and play it. And then when the vocals come in, we have this. So that's going to be the E power chord, and then bend that 3rd fret on low E over to the 2nd fret there on the D string. And then we basically do the same riff we did here off of F sharp earlier, but up at the 4th fret there off of G sharp. He does a little bit bigger bend there too. And then he goes back to the E power chord and he does this little legato feel. So that's just doing a trill between 7 and 9 on the G string. Take it down to the D, and then at the end of it, slide it down to 5th fret up there on the D. And you're gonna, at the end of that lick, you're gonna come up here and grab that chord that we played earlier, which is 7th fret there on the G and the B with the 9th fret there on the high E string. So that comes after that legato lick, so we have this. And then we go back to the E chords with the little bend at the 3rd fret. and the same riff after it. And then we finish this bridge with this. So that's the E power chord, and you're going to play 3, 4 on the low E string, then 2, 4 on the A, back to that power chord. So for the whole bridge. And then we get to the last chorus, which is just kind of an extended version of the chorus. So you just let that keep rolling on for a while. And then there's an outro solo, which is mostly unison bends at the very end. And that solo sounds like this. And that starts kind of fading out when it gets up there high. So really, the unison bend is this: play the 5th fret there on the B string, and then the 7th fret there on the G, and you're going to pick those together and bend the note on the G string up a whole step till they match. And so now what I'm going to do is we're going to do that same technique, but we're going to do it off different frets. So I'm going to be calling out the note that your index finger's at, or the fret. So we have the first 4-note melody is 5, 8, 10, 13. All right. And then the second time through, it's another 4-note melody, and that's going to be, the notes are going to be based off 5, 8, 7, 10. All right, and then the next 4-note melody is going to start with the same one we just ended with at the 10th fret, and that's going to be 10, 13, 15, 17. So all together for those bends. And then you start doing just the typical Eddie stuff that we do to where he's doing that kind of a lot of trill work and stuff here. It's the 17th fret there on the B. The A minor pentatonic and stuff. So that's about it. It starts fading out there, but it's a great track. Really, really fun to play. It's got some great riffs in it, and of course a killer solo. So I hope you guys enjoyed this full rundown now of Runaround. We took care of the whole thing for you. So please keep watching my lessons and check out my Guitar Academy. And I will see you guys again soon with the next one. Bye-bye.